Hello and welcome to KJ's Crash Course. I am KJ here with Exercise three's bonus, where we are actually going to make the automation faster. Exercise 3 is completing the RPA challenge, and while we completed it, there are specific activities at the UI level that you can edit to make your automation run faster. So what we are going to do is edit the properties of said activities so that way we can see how fast we can get the automation to run. This is a very, very effective skill when it comes to trying to either speed up your automations, or sometimes you're just going to have to edit properties in general to make your automation work as you go down the line. With our exercises, everything will be totally fine. No need for it. Usually you don't. However, it just enhances the experience, and that's why this is a bonus exercise. Okay, so we're going to cover the properties. As you can see, we are looking at the RPA challenge screen again. And what we're going to do, just like we did with exercise 1 to 2, where we copied it over, let's do this again. Once again, you don't have to do it. You could go into exercise 3, go to the main, open it up, and then just edit the properties from there. But I think it would be nice for reference to look at what the activity looked like before we edited the properties and what it looked like afterwards, which is why I'm suggesting that we copy the project over and do some edits there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with that. So if we go to exercise 3, copy and paste, or if you're old school, right click and then do that. We'll call this exercise 3. Oh, I hate when that happens. Oh, wow, okay. Exercise 3, bonus parameters. Call it parameters, speed it up, whatever it is, whatever your identifier is going to be to tell you that in this exercise we edited it and made it go faster. Okay, so we'll copy that and then we'll step into that project, go to the project pane, and then instead of just exercise 3, call it bonus, and then whatever you had it before, right? And then you can leave the description as what you want. If you want to edit it, go for it. Completely up to you. You saw how we edited it in the first exercise. Like I said, completely up to you if we go through that. Okay, so now we've edited the name that we need to on the back end. And then from that, let's actually open up, make sure you're in your new folder. Let's actually open up the main inside of that new folder to open up our previous workflow and edit it. And as we can see here, we are it's opened up. We see our old project, everything that we saw. We are going to focus on parameters and properties pane in the properties pane today. If I read the official definition of a property, the properties panel is contextual and enables you to view and change the properties of a selected activity, right? So I treat it like kind of like Legos. Everyone understands what a Lego is. It's a building block of that, but you can choose different colors, different sizes, etc. So in automation land, we can tell it how, for a click, for example, how long do we want the delay to be before? How do we want to click it when we type, and so on and so forth. So when you're updating properties in these types of automations, you're primarily going to focus to make it faster on the UI based activities. Okay, so let's cover a few parameters that help speed this up. All right, so one that we haven't discussed, because I know we had alluded to some properties before when maybe the application wasn't opened and it opened it up on your behalf. Sometimes it will close automatically, and we updated this open and close on the use browser activity. There's one called input mode. Now, it does not matter what you choose for these. Chances are whatever's going to be working is fine, but I want to cover these so that way if things aren't working properly, you can go to this and change it, because it will edit everything moving forward, and this will make sense as we cover it. Okay, so if we look at from everything, hardware events is as if it's literally using your mouse and keyboard. So if we change this to hardware events, every activity you would see the cursor actually move on the screen, and you would see if you typed and you would try to mess with that, it would actually take over your mouse and keyboard. Okay, so that's what hardware events means. Simulate is good for both or more web-based applications. What it does is it actually interacts directly with the HTML on the back end, which is super nice, which is how you can actually do things while the activities are running. For the most part, this doesn't work with every application, but it is something to keep in mind. Chromium API is just using the Chromium API if it exists with the browser that you're working with. It's just like Simulate is the easiest way to describe it. Window messages is used for more desktop applications, so think more of your in-house applications, business apps, whatever the case may be. And then background is another thing that we won't necessarily cover, but it's meant to actually work completely in the background entirely. This is actually used for picture-in-picture automations, which you can explore during your additional learning with Academy if you decide to go down that route. Okay, but primarily you're never going to have to touch this, but I think the input mode is something that I wanted to cover that I think is super important. Okay, then from that, what you'll notice is if we look at input mode, you see how it says same as app or browser with the click, and if I go to the type intos, it's all the same. So it's all going to use, right, that Chromium API input method, which is, if you noticed how the automation was running, it wasn't actually moving the mouse cursor on the screen at all, which is super cool. And that's kind of what you always want to search for from an automation perspective, because then it can run while you're doing other things, which is super nice. If it works. Sometimes it doesn't, and that's where you can go to the specific activity and change it to whatever you need to, for example. Okay. Right, but now the whole point of the bonus was, okay, that's enough lecture, great. How do I make this faster? So what you actually do is with every UI-based activity, primarily click, type into, if you have a select item, just anything UI specific, get text, set text, whatever the case may be, as you explore it. There is a property here with a delay after and delay before, okay? So what we can do here is that in this delay before, if we look at it in seconds, the default amount is 0.3. So it's 300 milliseconds as a delay after, and then 200 milliseconds or 0.2 seconds before. So with every activity, it's actually taking half a second to complete the action. So if we change that property to 0, now there's going to be no delay. The minute the element on the screen is available, we're going to interact with it. So if we take 0.5 seconds times what? There's 7 fields per 10 rows of data. We're looking at virtually cutting this thing down, to what? Just a few seconds. That's the point, is trying to get through it as fast as possible. So anytime you have a UI activity, try to get as close to 0 with it. Sometimes it will break automations in the sense that it goes too fast for it. That's okay, that'll happen. But just know that you have this parameter in all the UI-based activities that I'm going to go through here now, right? And you can change it. I do wish there was a way that you could highlight more than one and change it, but we only have input mode as a capability for now. I think there's ways to do it through Object Repository, but I think for your automations, it'll just be a little cumbersome, but not too bad to do it. I do wish, like I said, you could highlight them all, but you can't. But feel free to go ahead. And then there is also one other parameter in the type into specifically. If you look at, we have empty field before typing, and there's this click before typing parameter that you can also see on the properties pane, but we also put it in the activity designer. I would actually change this to none. Right, because what that's going to do is that when you send that click is an extra, I don't know, could be milliseconds, but it will take more time. You do not need to use a click before typing if this activate parameter is open, right? See how it says hardware events and Chromium API specifically, right? You do not need to click because we're activating the field. You should be able to do it. Like I said, there are times where that doesn't work. Usually the input mode is Chromium or API, Chromium API or Simulate. Just change it to hardware events and it'll work. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. But I just wanted to cover that. So right here, so make sure with all of your type intos, delay before, delay after, and make the click before typing none. Clicks, you just need to just put 0 in the delay before, delay after. And once you've gone ahead and done all of that, you should see an automation that will run a lot faster. So let me finish this up here and then we will run it and just see what it looks like. And assuming we've gotten all those completed, you can click save. Just do a nice quick check, going through, email, address, phone company. Yep, we're all good. Let's run this and see how fast it goes. Yeah, it's going in the background. And we can see that's going a lot faster. There's actually one other thing I want to do to make this automation go faster, because in case you might have noticed, it took a little bit after we clicked start and it opened up that Excel. So let's edit some properties there and see how fast we can get this thing. But we did that that took 26 seconds. 26 seconds is better than the 68 from before, or whatever it was. I guarantee if you edited those parameters, it's going faster. There are some other things we can do though, okay? So first thing I would actually do is in the Excel process scope, you can see show Excel window. I would actually make that false. You don't need the Excel to be open for this to run because we're interacting with it directly. So I would change the show Excel window to false. And what I would actually do is I would actually take this activity. So I just cut it using Control X. I would throw it in this, like this do block, right after we've used the Excel file. Where did it go? Oh, it went somewhere. Yeah, right there. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that. I would actually throw it inside this do block inside the use Excel file. And the reason I'm doing that is because if we think about this for a minute, if we had it up there, it's going to click start and then it needs to launch Excel. Where I'm saying if we want to complete the challenge as fast as possible, why don't we have the Excel ready to go and then click start? Right? So that's where it's another way we can speed this up and see how fast we can get it. Okay, don't need to do that. Like I said, just showing you other parameters, but that to me makes a little more sense because then you do your loop and then we're there because it's already got the Excel ready to go. So with that quick edit, let's see how fast we can get this thing to run now. It's pretty on launch Excel, and then there we go. It's about the same amount of time. And there we go. So about 23 seconds, didn't really change the time that much, but we did get a little bit. There is one other thing we can do. You could use a set text activity. I sometimes don't like set text because sometimes it doesn't necessarily work, but it is an option. There is also this click before typing and then delay between keys, right? I believe the delay in seconds by default is, I believe, 0.1. I would actually try to hit on those delay between keys. I would also make that 0. So I think that's going to just pretty much send the text as fast as possible. You may need to make it like 0.01. I've seen this break sometimes if it's going too fast or like you're on a Wi-Fi connection, but let's see if that works to make this as fast as possible. So let's see what that does. Reset. Let's try it again. Having a little fun here. You know, this is all the joys of kind of going through and building this stuff. So right there, start. Once I hit start. All right, so there we go. It's running a bit faster. So things you can do, right? We can try simulate, see if that runs any faster. Let's actually try that and see if that works. So maybe using the API just sends it, because I've gotten this down to like 4 seconds before. But even then, that was 17 seconds, so that's faster. Let's try changing this to simulate. All right, so go to use browser, go to your input mode, change that to simulate, and see if that fixes things, because I have gotten this to run pretty fast before. There we go. That's the ticket. So yeah, so that is just a quick orientation of using the properties pane. A lot of them that you're going to use are just from a UI perspective. UI, you're going to change input mode probably at this level in your UI activities, delay before, delay after, make those 0. I believe you can edit those in the back end later, but like I said, just keep it at the activity level because more often than not, it's going to be fast regardless, right? And then from that, in your type in twos, also be sure to change delay between keys to 0, and then just hit your click before typing none if you can. Not always going to be the case. Right there. Oh, I had a click there. I can probably get it even faster because it was clicking before before that. And this one probably, yep, and I had a double click before that. So yeah, if it yells at you when you change to simulate, which is nice, it will give you that exclamation point. We got that down to 9 seconds, and I'm sure I could run it into 5. So as we're closing out here, thank you for attending the bonus. I hope you learned a little bit about properties. Like I said, you're not going to usually need to edit these in any capacity to build automations, which is why this is a bonus. However, it is a nice little hack or a nice little trick to have in your back pocket to understand maybe why an automation isn't working. So as I run this, I am signing off. Feel free to take the other exercise, bonus exercise where we learn VB expressions. Otherwise, I will see y'all with exercise 4. I should probably hit reset and hit start, and I will talk to y'all later. Peace.